And joining me now from the nation's capital is Republican Congressman Jeff Denham from California's Central Valley. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
It's good to be with you again.
You're one of 10 House Republicans who wrote a letter to House Speaker Paul Ryan urging Congress to protect the Dreamers. Why do you think the protection should stay in place?
Not only should it stay in place, but we've got to provide certainty. We actually need a long-term plan for our Dreamers. We need to make sure that our Dreamers are safe and secure. 95% of Dreamers that have come forward and signed up for DACA are either working or in school. And to throw their lives into shambles to create this uncertainty, I think is unfair for them, who stepped up, passed background checks, and have now paid $495 to be part of the system and really show that they're Americans.
We have an intractable Congress right now. What legislative solutions do you think you can realistically advance and get passed?
Well, I think there have been a number of pieces of legislation that have been moved forward, that have been drafted, that are bipartisan. The Senate has the Bridge Act, which is bipartisan. In the House, we've got the RAC Act, the DREAM Act, My Enlist Act. And my bill, the Enlist Act, has the highest number of co-authors, bipartisan, of any immigration bill in the House, and one of the highest in all of Congress.
And your Enlist Act, which basically says that if they sign up for military service, they can get citizenship, right? Yes,
but which is only one aspect of the solution for Dreamers. But it is the ultimate patriotic effort to this country.
There have been various versions of the DREAM Act over the years, over the last 16 years, and Nancy Pelosi now thinks, or she says she thinks, that President Trump might sign it after meeting with him on Wednesday. Now, the DREAM Act is a way to offer young immigrants, including those like DACA recipients, a path to permanent legal status, eventually citizenship. Is that something that you would support?
Absolutely. Support it. I have always supported it. And it is actually part of each one of those bills that I named. We've got to push it forward.
And do you think it will advance and be passed this time around? It's failed numerous times before, even with bipartisan support.
You know, I believe that, especially with the president's announcement, that not only is all of Congress paying attention to it, but it's something that we've worked very hard on for the last 4 years. It is time to move this forward. We've got to create the certainty, and we need to do it and put it in law versus doing it as an executive order. So we've got to fix it. I'd like to see it as a standalone bill and show that the two houses can work together in a bipartisan fashion. But if we have to put it on a must-pass bill, a funding bill, or another reauthorization bill of something else, I am happy to do that as well. The main point of this is we have to find a solution, and we've got to do it quickly.
Given that about 1 in 4 Dreamers resides in California, do you think this is an issue that the California delegation can and should take the lead on?
I do. I certainly believe that our delegation should take the lead on this. But this is a national issue, and it should be something that every member in every state is focused on as well. And for me, this is a personal issue. We've got to get it done.
It's a personal issue, meaning what?
Meaning that I've worked with a lot of Dreamers in my district, and you know, I'm for comprehensive top-to-bottom immigration reform. We've got to solve all aspects of our broken immigration system, but it starts right here with the Dreamers, and they're the ones that we've seen this uncertainty, and they've stepped up and want to be Americans. We need to make sure that that can happen. And your immigration
views seem to have changed over the years. For example, in 2008, as a California state senator, you voted against a bill that would have allowed undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. a chance for college scholarships. Your views have seemed to change over the years. You now support protecting Dreamers. Can you talk about what led you to that evolution?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's so much of an evolution as a difference between being in the state legislature versus being at the federal level. This is something that's got to be solved by Congress. It is a federal obligation. And while it's a big, important issue in my district, it's a big issue for California, this is a national issue that all states should be involved in.
Just one day after threatening to end DACA, President Trump seemed eager to cut a deal, in effect maybe combining beefed-up border security with extended protections for DACA in the hopes of satisfying all sides. Is that an idea that you would support?
It is, absolutely. And if you look at the legislation from last year, the Gang of Eight bill that came out of the Senate, very bipartisan. I was one of the first co-authors of that in the House. But again, that had not only a solution for Dreamers, but it had border security. Neither one of these issues should be partisan issues. They're issues that are American issues, and both houses need to work together on.
You know, the president has surprised us continually, sometimes changing his mind on issues. For example, even on DACA this week, he tweeted out that DACA recipients have nothing to worry about. What does this mean for other issues that are on the Republican agenda? Do you feel like you can count on his consistent, continual support, or will he continue to change his mind on things?
I think it depends on the House and certainly on all of Congress. We've got to put things on his desk. We need to actually get these bills, these big reform issues, to his desk and allow him the ability to sign or veto them. But to have inaction coming out of Congress and a discussion back and forth between the White House, I don't think solves the problem. We've got to get our job done.
You have a lot of agricultural workers in your district. Your district is about 45% Latino. What are you hearing from your constituents regarding DACA, and are they worried about maybe it's Dreamers today, tomorrow it'll be something else targeting agricultural workers?
Certainly there's concern about jobs and making sure that people in my district have jobs. That's a big part of our labor pool and a big part of the immigration crisis that we're seeing right now. But certainly, as you're talking about Dreamers, that's a different scenario. These are kids that were brought here to no fault of their own. We've never held kids accountable for laws that have been broken by their parents. We have to fix this Dreamer issue. We've got to do it quickly. Their government has asked them to step forward, to pass a background check, to pay a fee, and I think they feel very vulnerable right now because they have stepped forward. The president has given us 6 months to get this done. We need to get it done in the next several days to a couple of weeks, but it's got to get done immediately.
Are you confident that it will get done?
I am confident. I think that there is a renewed push from both parties to get this done. There is some pressure here, but we've got to move it quickly.
And until a long-term fix for DACA happens, what would be your advice to DACA recipients right now? What should they be doing?
I would say be vocal. I think that it's important that we make this a movement beyond California. It needs to be all 50 states coming together. And there are Dreamers across the country. There is immigration reform that's needed across the country, and I would expect every member to be engaged. But they need to hear from their constituents. We need to have people be vocal about this and be vocal about the expediency that's needed for a solution.
All right, Congressman Jeff Denham of the Central Valley, thank you for joining us from the nation's capital this morning.
Thank you for having me.